Can snake plants grow in regular potting soil? Can snake plants grow in regular potting soil? The short answer is yes, they can. But there's an important detail. Regular potting soil can sometimes hold more moisture than a snake plant really needs. Since snake plants are naturally adapted to relatively dry conditions, soil that stays wet for too long can create problems for the roots. So, if you're using regular potting soil, the question isn't simply whether you can use it. The more important question is, does the soil drain well enough for your snake plant? In this video, we'll look at whether regular potting soil is suitable, what problems can happen, and how you can improve it for healthier roots. Let's get started. 1. Regular potting soil can work. You don't necessarily need a special soil labeled specifically for snake plants. A good quality indoor potting soil can provide a suitable base for your plant. It contains organic material that can hold some moisture and support root growth. The problem is that some regular potting mixes are designed to retain moisture for plants that prefer consistently damp soil. Snake plants are different. They prefer the soil to dry between waterings. So regular potting soil may work perfectly well in some homes, while in other conditions it may stay wet for too long. 2. The main problem is poor drainage. The biggest concern with regular potting soil is usually drainage. If the mix is dense and holds a lot of water, the roots may remain wet for an extended period after watering. Snake plant roots need both moisture and oxygen. When the soil stays saturated, air spaces disappear, and the roots can become stressed. Over time, this can contribute to root rot. If your regular potting soil drains quickly and dries properly between waterings, you may not need to change it. But if it stays wet for many days, it's worth improving the mix. 3. Check how your soil behaves. Instead of judging the soil only by its name or packaging, look at what happens after you water. Does water move through the soil easily? Does some water drain from the bottom of the pot? Does the soil remain wet for a very long time? These observations tell you much more than the word potting soil on the bag. A suitable snake plant mix should become moist after watering, but should not remain saturated for days and days. Number 4. Adding perlite can help. If your regular potting soil is too dense, adding perlite is one of the easiest solutions. Perlite is lightweight and creates additional air spaces in the soil. It can help improve drainage and reduce compaction. A simple starting point is around 2 parts potting soil to 1 part perlite. You don't have to follow this ratio perfectly. If your environment is humid or your soil dries very slowly, you may want a more freely draining mix. If your home is warm and dry, you may need slightly more moisture retention. The goal is to create a balanced texture. Hazard 5. Pumice is another option. If you don't have perlite, pumice can also work well. Pumice is porous and helps improve drainage and airflow. It's heavier than perlite, so it can also add stability to the pot. This can be useful for larger snake plants that become top-heavy. Again, you don't need to use every possible soil ingredient. Regular potting soil combined with one good drainage material can be enough. Number 6. What about regular potting soil by itself? Can you simply use regular potting soil without adding anything? Yes, but it depends on the soil. If the mix is relatively light and drains well, it may work. If it is dense and remains wet for a long time, it may not be the best choice. Watch your plant and soil after watering. If the soil dries normally and the plant remains healthy, there's no reason to change it just because it's regular potting soil. But if you repeatedly have problems with wet soil, yellow leaves, or soft foliage, the mix may need improvement. 7. Avoid garden soil. Regular potting soil and garden soil are not the same thing. Garden soil is generally not ideal for growing snake plants in containers. It can become compacted, drain poorly, and restrict airflow around the roots. For indoor plants, use a quality container potting mix rather than simply bringing soil from the garden. The potting mix should be light enough to allow water and air to move through the root zone. Number 8. The pot matters too. Even good potting soil can cause problems if the container has poor drainage. Always choose a pot with drainage holes. After watering, excess water should be able to escape from the bottom. Also, avoid using a pot that is much larger than your snake plant needs. A very large container contains more soil, and that extra soil can remain wet for a long time. A reasonably sized pot combined with well-draining soil is usually a better setup. Number 9. Your environment changes the answer. There isn't one soil mix that works exactly the same in every home. For example, if your snake plant is growing in a warm room with bright light, the soil may dry relatively quickly. Regular potting soil may work perfectly well, but if your plant is in a cool, humid room with low light, the same soil may stay wet much longer. In that situation, adding more drainage material may be helpful. Your environment should influence your soil choice. 10. How do you know if regular potting soil is working? Look at the plant and the soil together. If the leaves are firm and healthy, the soil drains after watering, and it dries properly before the next watering, your mix is probably working. But if the soil stays wet for a long time and the leaves begin turning yellow, becoming soft or drooping, you may need to make changes. Don't wait until root rot becomes severe. Improving the soil early can prevent many problems later. Should you repot just because you're using regular potting soil? Not necessarily. If your snake plant is healthy and growing well, there's no reason to disturb the roots simply because you're using regular potting soil. Repotting is more useful when there is an actual problem. For example, if the soil has become compacted, drainage is poor, or the plant repeatedly stays wet for too long. If the current soil is working well, you can leave the plant alone. Sometimes the best thing you can do for a healthy snake plant is simply not disturb it unnecessarily. Final thoughts. So, can snake plants grow in regular potting soil? Yes, regular potting soil can work as long as it doesn't stay wet for too long. The most important qualities are good drainage, enough airspace, and moderate moisture retention. If your regular potting soil feels heavy or stays wet for days, improve it by mixing in perlite or pumice. Use a pot with drainage holes, avoid oversized containers, and always check the soil before watering. Remember, you don't need a complicated or expensive soil recipe. The best soil is simply one that gives your snake plant's roots the right balance of moisture and airflow. If your plant is healthy and the soil dries properly, your regular potting mix may already be doing a good job. Thank you for watching Plants Every Day. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more simple indoor plant care tips. Be sure to explore our snake plant soil and pot care playlist for more easy guides on choosing the right soil, pot, and repotting methods for a healthy snake plant. See you in the next video. Happy growing!